Hi guys, so I'm going to be doing a book review video for you guys today. I have 6 books, and it's been I think a month since I've done a book review video. And let's just get right into it. So two of the books that I read for this book review video are kind of similar, and it wasn't intentional. It's like the same kind of storyline but different outcomes. So I'm going to get into the first story, and this is called Grave Apparel. It's a crime of fashion mystery, and this is by Ellen Byerrum. Byerrum? I don't know how you say her last name. I'm terrible with last names. So if I say a name wrong, I apologize. But this is what it looks like, and this I think is like the second book in the series. I'm not really sure. I have the first one. I think it's the first one. And this one, the reason why I kept putting off some of these books is just because some of the words are it's really long to get through. Some of the pages, like there's like 1,000 words on a page and they're really tiny and everything, so it takes me a while to get through them. But this one is about this woman, what was her name? Cassandra, no, Lacey. She works for this newspaper. She's like a fashion, she writes little tidbits of fashion in the newspaper, and there's these two rivals at her work, and the one woman is like this environmental woman. Like, she's like, yo, she's the type of person that would say, oh, you're ruining the environment, that type of thing. And the other woman is one who writes for the cooking section in the newspaper, and they're arch rivals because the woman who's all about the environment, she doesn't really like tacky Christmas sweaters, so it's really like a Christmas book. And this other woman, who's the cooking woman, she loves wearing tacky Christmas sweaters, ugly Christmas sweaters, whatever you want to call them, all the time when Christmas comes around. And here, the woman who, the woman who ends up, the one that's really about the environment, she ends up in this alleyway almost dying when Lacey gets this call from this mysterious character who I'm not going to go into detail about, because that's the whole point of the story, is this character. And this character calls her and tells her, hey, this woman's outside this alleyway behind the newspaper's building because they were doing a Christmas party and stuff like that. And it's up to Lacey to figure out who did it and why. And it was a nice book, but the thing is, I feel like it drew out a lot of the book. I feel like there was some parts of the book where I'm like, you didn't really need to write that in the book. It was just a book where there was details, okay, I get it, and then there's some where it's like, come on, when are you gonna start getting to the whole story of what happened and blah blah blah. And it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. So this next book, I'm gonna do the two together where they're kind of similar storylines. This one is called Double Booked for Death. It's a Black Cat bookshop mystery. It's the first in the series, and it's by Ali Brandon. And this is what it looks like. And it's about this woman who she inherited her aunt's bookstore. I'm trying to make sure I don't get them confused, these two books confused. And here there's this signing at her bookshop that she has, and this author, I think she ends up dying. Yeah, she ends up dying, and everybody thinks it's this one person. And here it turns out that they find out that this person didn't write her books. It was somebody else. And it's up to this woman who owns the bookstore. I forget her name. Darla, I think it is. She tries to figure out with the help of her cat. It's kind of like the Cat Who books. If you ever read the Cat Who books, I read some all the time. I'm not going to go into detail about that. But her cat helps her solve mysteries too. And it was just real, this book was just, it was a good book, but like I said, the words were really small on a page. This is how small they were on a page. But it was a good book, and it was a shocking thing that happened in the book. I think it was in this one where one of the people in the book isn't who they really are in the book, and that's what turns the whole book upside down, where you're just like, wow, like that was like, if you didn't pay close attention, you would have missed it. That's how it was. So this next book, this is the book that I first read for this whole set, and it's been a while since I read it. So I read it in the last book review video. I read another book in this series, and I didn't want to put both of them in the same book review video because I didn't know if I just don't like to do that sometimes, just because then it's like I read two of the same book and I might not have liked it. I don't know. But like if I like the one, I might not like the other one, or vice versa. You know how that is sometimes, where you don't really like you might not like all the stories in a series and stuff like that. This is a fairy tale fatal mystery. It's called Cinderella 6 Feet Under. It's by Maia Chance. I think that's, excuse me, how you say her first name. I don't really know. This is what it looks like. And the other one that I read was about Belle, the Princess Belle. And this one is sort of like the story of Cinderella. And it's where Ophelia goes to catch up with her friend at her mansion, and here all these things are going wrong, and her friend Prune, I think it's Prunella, she ends up being like the Cinderella character in the book, where she starts cleaning and cooking and doing all these like things, how like Cinderella did. And it's all because, this man that she was with, I think he was Hansel from Hansel and Gretel, I think. He he wrote her this letter and stuff, and she's waiting for him to come, and then here he doesn't, and she's giving up hope, and these people are trying to find her and kidnap her because they think she can help them find this thing in this person's house, this mansion, and stuff like that. And Prunella's trying to find her friend, or Prunella's mother, Henrietta. It was just like a lot to take in. Like the first book, it was just like one storyline. Like this book was the first book. This book I should have read first before I read the second one, or the one I read in the last book review video, because stuff that happens in this book transfers over to that one. But it was still a good book. It was just like for this book there was too many storylines that went all together. And in the other book I read, it was Belle, Belle, Beast, and Belladonna. That one had only like one straight storyline where you could follow it. This one was more like this, and that. You know what I mean? Like there was just too much to like take in at one time. This is the one that kind of was like the double booked book. This one was called Bookmarked for Death. It's a Booktown mystery, and I have read one or two books in this series. Maybe it was just one. And it's in this small town where it's basically like you go into a cooking store, like you can buy cooking supplies, and there's cookbooks in there. She has this mystery bookstore. One has an antique store, one has a cafe, stuff like that. And this one is called Bookmarked for Death. It's by Lorna Barrett. That's what it looks like. And it takes place with this woman named Trisha, who has this book signing at her store, kind of like the other book. And something happens to the author. And here they're ruling out people, but they're suspecting that she might not have been the one that wrote the books. And here there was this woman who's sending out these different desserts because she has this cafe and she needed some money for it, but she didn't get it, but she's like to do something with it, I don't know. And here these desserts she's giving to people are making them sick, and they don't know why. They haven't told her about it. And here, like, the shock at the end was really like it involves everybody in the book, but the shock at the end was like, it was really shocking, like why the things were making them sick. and who actually did it. It was just so shocking, that book, compared to the book double booked one. This one is a long book. Um, this one I really like. Like if you guys don't like any of the other books that I mentioned, this book you guys should read. I highly recommend it. It was really good. There was a lot of twists and turns in it. It just takes a while to get to those points. This is called A Paris Apartment. It's by Michelle Gable. This is what it looks like. And the one thing I do have to say in the book is that there are points. It takes place in Paris, so of course, every once in a while there's going to be some French involved, but nowhere in the book is there like a little dictionary to tell you like what they're saying, basically. So it's about this woman who she majors in art history. So she finds out, she goes to this apartment that was owned by this woman who had all of these fancy high classed items, and there was this painting that this famous painter actually made of this woman, and they're like, well, how did this, because this guy, he was an Italian painter, and he's actually, if you Google his name in the book, I thought it was just like a story. Like, I didn't think, no, they just made this artist up, but he's a real artist. And they were wondering, well, how did this person who was this type of person in life be able to get this famous, I'm gonna say author, famous painter to paint her? And they find out, well, she was pregnant, so maybe that's why. But this book centers around it centers around two women, one in the past and one in the present. And I can kind of relate to the woman in the book, the present woman in the book, dealing with what she's been dealing with in the book, like just like her attitude and stuff like that, or like how she is kind of like me, kind of a little bit. So when you can get into it based on that, it's really good. And this woman in the past, the woman whose this is her apartment is, it it's a sad life for her. Um, she I don't want to say what she was, but if you read the book, you'll find out. And then at the end of the book, she only wanted this one guy, and he didn't want her back after he found out something about her. And she had to decide if she wanted to put her children into this orphanage type of thing, like she was. And you'll understand why she was put in orphanage towards the end of the book. But it was a good book. It goes back and forth a lot. Like, sometimes it goes back and forth maybe a little bit, and then it goes back and forth a lot. But it was just a really good book. So I highly recommend you get this book and read it, because it is really good. Like, I don't know if they made a movie of this book, I don't know if it could do it justice, but this book was like really, really good. So this book is called, I don't even know how you say the name of it, The Daughter of Albion. It's by Ilka Tamoke. This is what it looks like, and it's supposed to be kind of like Game of Thrones. Now, I never watched Game of Thrones. I never read the Game of Thrones books, but it takes place in ancient Britain, and it's so hard to explain this book because it's this thing where this girl was found on this cooking servant's doorstep. And everybody in this town or community has something called a skin, which is kind of like, I don't know how it's something where if you don't have one, it's not like a skin like our skin. It's like how they split everybody up into different groups. Like, there's a deer skin one, there's like a fish one. I don't know. It's really complicated. They don't really go into detail about it, but otherwise it's this thing where if you don't have one, you can't, because she's an orphan basically, you can't contribute to the community at all. And it was just really, really a good book. Like, there's romance in it. Like, if you like Game of Thrones, there's that type of stuff in it. All this stuff, but it's a good book. And basically she's trying to figure out her way into this society or community and stuff like that. And as she goes on, she's learning more about herself and stuff like that. But then she doubts herself. She's doubting herself because she's like, well, I don't have a skin, so why should you guys listen to me and blah, blah, blah. But it was a really good book. It's a long book. There's a lot of stuff in it where it's a lot of lore, basically, like, of the author's trying to, like, do in one, like, in a couple different chapters, so you have to really be, like, paying attention to that. But otherwise, everything else in the book is good. And that was my book review video for this month. So I'll see you guys next time with another video, and hope you guys have a wonderful day.